Hey guys, Discord. I was unaware that this happened, but today I'm riding to the Dead by Daylight 9.3.0 PTB patch notes. That's right, the November patch, the November PTB is going on. Apparently, this has been going on for like 2 days before recording this, which I was unaware of. Um, I do know that today, as we're recording, this is also the day that 2v8 has started, so I'm really hoping me and Orange can film a video on that. But yeah, I just happened to notice the PTB had patch notes were out, so let's see what we got going on here in the PTB. All this stuff I would read, but it's always the same. So let's actually scope features. The tunneling reduction update. So quick TLDR. For those of you who didn't know, they tried to change tunneling and slugging, I believe, was the other one in the last PTB, but they were unsuccessful due to the fact that people were complaining so much about, I think it was the slugging part. People felt like the killer changes weren't enough incentives to get rid of it. And also, people felt like Survivor got too much. That'll check chestnut. But something specifically about tunneling I want to mention is only a few days ago I released a YouTube short. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. Basically, just talking about a very frustrating player me and Orange dealt with when we were finishing up the Haunted by Daylight event for us, where we dealt with a very annoying player who kind of based their whole, like, from their name, like, I think from their Steam name to the naming game to everything, was centered around tunneling. And I mentioned in the short, I'll just make this a quick side tangent. I mentioned in the short how excited I was for tunneling to get talked about again by behavior, to see what their new updated idea is, to hopefully get something that will make sure that will like punish players like that who intentionally play toxically and are just toxic, players and whatnot, and the scum of the community to some people and whatnot. So that way, hopefully, everybody will have a better experience. Killer players will actually get rewarded for skill and have more fun, and then survivors won't have to deal with toxic playstyles that basically just destroy them immediately. Especially that first player that, in the case of camping and tunneling, gets killed out of the game immediately. And I know Orange, when we played, he died very quickly as well a couple of times and didn't get to do a whole lot. But I'm really excited for this. All right. Added custom match options to enable this feature. Interesting. So survivors that are unhooked or unhook themselves receive unhook protection for 30 seconds. Interesting. I'm curious what unhooking yourself is going to work like. I don't know if that got added to the game in the last PTB, but I swear in the last PTB that had a change where they were going to make it so that way you, the survivor, you, without certain perks, you couldn't try to unhook yourself at all like that first time, which I think is an interesting idea. I also think that can't be frustrating, so maybe they didn't go for it. Was it? I have no idea, but all right. So you get a 10% haste stats effect. You get endurance. You get the endurance stats effect. You get elusive, which I believe is a brand new, like, not like maybe last PTB introduced like status effect. Like this is super recent. This elusive status effect, which is kind of, from what I remember, it was kind of a combination of some of the other status effects, or at least some like old status effects, but with some added, flair. But yeah, so the illicit status effect, which is a new status effect that hides your grunts of pain, your aura, your scratch marks, and your pools of blood. The survivor makes no sounds, so the coughing sound, the vomiting sound, noises like that. And you get immunity to the AFK crows. The survivor will see the killer's aura within 32 meters for 10 seconds. The survivor is still susceptible to attacks and power still, which kind of sucks. These effects linger for 3 seconds after being killed for a full health state, which is kind of nice to last a little bit. These effects are lost when performing a conspicuous action. These effects are disabled when all generators are completed, except for the 10% haste and endurance status effects, which will only last 10 seconds. Interesting. Developer note: we've reduced the killer aura reveal duration to limit a survivor's ability to plan aggressive saves while under the effects of unhook protections. Additionally, we've removed the no collision effect. Oh yeah, I remember that being a thing in the last PTB when they tried this. Effect from the unhook protection to prevent survivors from phasing ahead of the killer to use their unhook protections aggressively. We will be closely monitoring these during the PTB and look forward to the feedback. I don't really know what to say about this yet, if that makes sense. Like, it sounds interesting. I like how they toned back some of the survivor stuff, because the big criticism they got, and it does, as someone who is aware that behavior has said that the game is intentionally killer-sided, or at least they intentionally want it to be, it is frustrating. It is a little frustrating that like so many killer players were like up in arms about this, just because it's like they've stated that the killer players are going to intentionally have more advantages, and them complaining kind of took advantage of survivors were getting to kind of increase that gap, so to speak. But I think in this instance, the survivor players, the killer players, did have good reasons to complain. It was very it felt, from what I remember, it felt very one-sided. Like survivors were getting more benefits than the killer players were to an extent. So I can understand everybody freaking out. I'm very happy that they went back to the drawing board. I feel like most players are going to be happy that they went back to that drawing board and came up with something new. I just don't know if that something new is going to work or not. The survivor stuff for the new tunneling reduction sort of update here, it sounds okay. It's very, they removed a couple of things that they had before. I think they changed some numbers and updated some other things. That's about all they did. So I don't know if that's going to be good enough or not, but it is what they did. I think I went too far. Yeah, I did. I was about to say I didn't recognize this stuff. Unique hook bonuses. When hooking a survivor that is different than the last survivor hook, the killer gets the following. Okay, so this is going to be some killer buffs. Like what killer will be getting sort of from this mode. Got it. So you killer mains will receive Bloodlust Tier 1 for 15 seconds. This bonus is reset when entering a chase. Interesting. This bonus is disabled when all generators are completed. That's fair. A 10% blood point multiplier on the match score at the end of the trial. That's kind of nice that they give you a 10% blood point boost. Because we need all the money we can get in this economy. We're about to make that more fucking money. We make that dollar, yo, more fucking money. Developer note: in the previous PTB, the killer bonuses were complex and had many layers. That is true. The killers got a lot of buffs in different areas in the last attempt that they tried this, and maybe that was part of the issue. I don't know, but I know the killer players got a ton of buffs. I remember Orange saying that the killer buffs specifically he felt like were nice, but overall he felt like, you know, when you combine it on top of what survivors were getting and whatnot, it just kind of made the whole thing frustrating. But that's what it is. They also made killer gameplay very linear. Hook, kick gen, down next survivor, rinse and repeat. Okay, so it seems like that linearity is going to be was a cause of concern. Understandable. To retain player agency and the unexpected moments, I don't know why I didn't see the S at first. We simplified the bonuses to only one, gaining Bloodlust. Why Bloodlust? Because haste stacked with killer powers, which made stronger killers even stronger. That is definitely a cause for concern. Like, haste probably at, like, haste on top of, say, a good, really good Blight player was probably, I haven't gone up against a Blight player in a while because I suck ass, but that sounds absolutely terrifying and very difficult to deal with. If the nurse using her power was that bonus, also sounds terrifying. So I can understand why they were like, yeah, we gotta do something else here. Widening the gap between them and weaker killers, and there's a lot of killers that are considered weaker, so, like, we gotta give them some love. Like, come on. Reusing Bloodlust means that killers who use their power, nurse, ghoul, etc. Oh god, ghoul. Fucking Kaneki, man. I swear I have a game with him in it. Besides the Dead by Daylights. No, I did, but I got rid of it. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I swear I've seen like a Tokyo Ghoul game or something recently, and that's probably what I'm thinking of. Will lose the bonus, while killers who are typically use their basic attacks more will keep it for the full duration. We've also removed the penalties from the previous PTB, and the spirit of keeping player choice an important factor in how the game unfolds. I don't really know what to say to this. I'm not good enough at the killer side to form a good opinion. I apologize, but I like how they are trying to give player choices and all, but I don't think that wasn't the main concern that I saw kind of during the last PTV when they tried this. I saw different concerns being talked about and whatnot. So I don't know if just Bloodlust here and a Bloodpoint multiplier is going to be enough to satisfy those people. We'll have to wait and see. And also, another thing is this doesn't really feel like it does anything for tunneling specifically to me. Like the killer side, like the killer stuff, I mean, maybe a little bit, because you get the Bloodlust bonus as long as you don't tunnel, but you can still tunnel. You know what I mean? I get that they can't fully get rid of tunneling. They can only really incentivize you not to do it. And I feel like in that regard, the killer stuff is fine. But, like, the survivor stuff is just, you know, like... I get that they had the tone... You know, all they really did with the survivor stuff was just kind of tone it down a little bit and whatnot. But I don't know if these are enough for a tunneling sort of thing. I really want to hear some of your guys' thoughts. I don't know if Orange will watch this, but if he does, I'd like to hear his thoughts. You random viewer who stumbles upon this video, I'd like to hear your thoughts as well about this, because I don't really know what to kind of think about this yet. On paper, right, which is essentially kind of what this is to an extent, it sounds okay. Like, it just sounds sort of bland and just, like, not enough is being done. But at the same time, the tunneling playstyle is just you keep chasing after the same person until they're dead. It is one of my least favorites. I hope this would incentivize, say, that player that I made in that match that I have that YouTube short on that I mentioned earlier. I don't know if this would be enough to like make someone like that who centers their personality around tunneling enough to get rid of it from them or not, but I guess we'll see. Again, this is all on paper. You know, I haven't actually entered the PTB yet. I do have the PTB downloading because, again, I wasn't aware of this stuff. But yeah, I hope it turns out good. Ooh, perks. Ooh, slugging reduction. Ooh, a slugging reduction update. That'll be interesting to see. Hook improvements. Okay. Lot of. I just want to see how long this. Oh, hey, skill merchant. I just saw her. Something about her. That'll be exciting to get to. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Why do I have to keep reading all the... Why do they keep giving me the giant patch notes? I'm just stuck here forever. Alright, let's do this. Perks. The following perks have been updated. See the perk update section below for more details. We're not there yet, but for Killer, Fear if Chase got touched, and for Survivor, Babysitter, Broad Time, and Breakdown off the record, and Wicked got touched. Slugging reduction update, which is also a thing that really annoys me. So let's see how they addressed it, because I hope that turns out well. Self-recovery. After being downed by the killer, the resolve bar appears. So they're bringing that idea back. Interesting. The resolve bar takes 120 seconds to fill. Progress does not reset between downs. Oh, thank God, doesn't reset. That's kind of nice. So if you don't get to fully fill it, you know, you'll keep that progress the next times you're down. That's actually very nice. The result bar fills 33% faster for each additional survivor currently in the dying state. Joking on myself, jeez. That makes sense because of what slugging is. Slugging is all about... Slugging is the main thing that person in the short that I talked about did. They did do some tunneling. Slugging was the main thing they did. And for those of you who don't know, slugging is when the killer decides to give all of you the middle finger and just down all of you for a win. Because as survivor players, you guys can't do anything to stop it or prevent it or anything. So you just end up losing by default, which is really annoying. So yeah, that slugging is super annoying and probably like one of the least fun toxic playstyles possible. So thank God they're touching it. Let's see here. Once the result bar is full, the survivor gains the ability to pick themselves up from the dying state for the rest of the match. Hell yeah. Note the survivor must fully recover each time. Oh, that kind of sucks. At a custom game set disable this feature. Developer note, to better target the extreme cases, and again, I felt like what me and Orange dealt with in the short that I made, I felt like that was an extreme case. That was all they did the entire match, and it was super annoying. Again, all they did, I think they tunneled Orange, which might have been why he died, I don't really know, but they primarily did they did a little bit of slugging, but a little bit of tunneling, but it was primarily slugging. A developer update by behavior that gives players like that a giant middle finger would make me personally just very happy, because when I play this game, I don't want to deal with the toxic playstyles. I'd rather deal with the killers that actually, you know, try to use skill, that actually, you know, use skill when they play the game and whatnot. Not, oh, I'm just going to down everybody and get the easiest dub in my life. You know, because that's not fun for anybody. I guess except the player doing it, but you suck if that's your playstyle. You suck. Go touch grass. We've increased the base time taken to fill the resolve bar. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so it takes a little bit longer, which I think is fair, because again, they want it to be against those extreme cases. So yes, it makes sense to make the bar longer for that reason. And added a stacking speed bonus. Interesting. For each additional survivor in the dying state. Oh yeah, they mentioned that for a 3% boost. This will make the mechanic more lenient in matches with little to no slugging, right? And cause it to kick in sooner in matches with a lot of slugging. This would have been nice in that match, but that was just such an extreme weird case. It wouldn't have been enough in that instance, but that is a very nice. I'm very happy overall was that idea. I don't know if it'll succeed, but at least the idea I like. The dying state. Crawling speed increases over time. Oh, interesting. When left in the dying state from 0.7 meters per second to 1.05 meters per second. Developer note, the ability to recover while crawling in the previous PTB made crawling away always the right choice. Yeah, because that was like a thing. You like always were given progress towards picking yourself up when you went down. Like it was like an auto thing. And then something about, I don't remember if crawling like increased it or not, but just kind of due to how the last PTB attempt of this stuff worked, it kind of incentivized crawling away. This made it difficult for the killer to find and hook survivors who were only selected briefly. We've removed this from the base kit, so survivors must choose between staying still and recovering or crawling away so the killer cannot find them. Interesting. Perks. The following perks have been updated, which is just tenacity, which makes sense because that is like kind of the main perk for like crawling. Because tenacity allows you to crawl and sort of recover yourself. So it'll be interesting to see what they did with that perk. Hook improvements, quality of life. The resolve bar is now visible to other survivors while hooked. Developer note, to help bridge the information gap between players using voice chat and those who aren't, we've added the resolve bar to the HUD. This will help survivors determine if the killer is camping and plan their next move accordingly. Balance. The anti-face camp meter now fills faster based on how long the killer stays near the hook. Interesting. 0 to 10 seconds, 1x speed. 10 to 20 seconds, 2x speed. More than 20 seconds, 4x speed. Note, the multiplier only accumulates when the killer is considered camping. The meter is gaining progress. The multiplier resets when the survivor is on hook. That's fair. Decreased the base fill rate of the anti-face camp meter to roughly 50% to compensate. Increased the range of the anti-face camp zone. The 20 meters was 16. I think that's fair because some people would still they'll still face camp, but they'll quote unquote cheese it by being out of the range. So I think increasing the range makes a lot of sense. Obviously, you can't increase it to the size of the entire map, but if you do it, if you do increase it at least a little bit, that's good. Just to kind of help out. Hooking a survivor now applies a 7-second grace period to all hooked survivors. Was only the last hooked survivor. Interesting. Developer note, to make the anti-face camp mechanic fairer, I almost said farther, I don't know why, to both sides, we've reduced the base fill rate and added the time the killer remains near the hook as a modifier. This gives killers who are not camping more freedom to pass by a hook, particularly in cramped spaces like hallways, fair, without worrying about the meter, filling and giving the survivor a free escape. This also means that survivors who are being camped for extended periods can be able to unhook themselves slightly earlier, which is also fair. I kind of like the idea of that. I hope it works out, because I like it on paper. AFK crows. We are slowly getting through this thing. Decrease the time for crows to appear to 80, 100, and 120 seconds was 120, 140, and 190. Interesting, so they decreased it. Following the release of the updated AFK crow system, we've increased the time to gain crows. This was much too generous, allowing for survivors to avoid crows too easily. We're dialing back the values a little bit to a middle ground between the original values and the live values. Okay, interesting. Content, killer updates the shape. Slaughtering Strike's camera controls are now identical to regular camera controls. I like that a lot. Here's why I really like that. when I tried him out in the PTB, where he, got all those changes, the camera was not fun. The camera was not normal. Like, I think it was partly just due to, like, how the move worked, but the camera controls were, like, kind of weird, and it made controlling him and, like, controlling the solar strike harder because of that. So I'm very happy that that the camera controls will now just be the exact same as if you weren't in Slaughtering Strike. So it's just the normal camera controls. That makes me very happy as someone who found some frustration with the original sort of camera control attempt when using it. So I'm personally happy. The Cenobite, who you can't unlock anymore. So if you never got him, tough shit. You will never have this character unless they bring him back, which might not be happening anytime soon. I think it took like 2 or 3 years for us to get Stranger Things back, and it's been I think it's been a year or two now, and we still haven't received the Cenobite, aka Pinhead, back. So that kind of sucks, because he's a really interesting character. But yeah, that sucks. Survivors with the endurance status effect cannot be restrained by a possessed chain. The ability to bind survivors who are just unhooked and under the endurance status effect could feel quite oppressive. This change aims to make the possessed chain less effective at targeting recently unhooked survivors. The Skull Merchant. This is a big character that needed some changes. That has always been on the sort of getting changes chopping block, if you will. They continuously have to touch her and update her and whatnot. So I'm very excited to see what they did with Skull Merchant. Increase the drone rotation speed to 105 degrees a second was 95 degrees a second. Increase the hindered status effect from getting scans to 10% was 8%. Decrease the deploy drone cooldown to 7 seconds was 10 seconds. Decrease the undetectable duration after deploying a drone to 6 seconds was 8 seconds. Remove the fast fall immunity to scan lines. Okay. For every 2.5 seconds spent standing underneath a drone, the survivor gains 1 lock-on was instant. Decrease killer detention range for the drone. Now only rises when colliding directly with Skull Merchant. Some of those, just sound kind of whatever to me on paper, if I'm being honest with you. Some of those are not exciting at all on paper. But we'll see what the developer note has to say. Maybe that'll clue me in a little bit more about this. Skull Merchant has dropped fairly significantly in terms of kill rate and lethality. Probably because nobody fucking plays her. Why? Because you fucking gutted her. Or at least that's the opinions of a lot of players. These buffs aim to make her drones a bigger threat and bring up her a little bit. Additionally, we've decreased the cooldown to displaying drones, and consequently decreased the duration of undetectable to keep some downtime between her undetectable status effect. When standing underneath a drone, survivors will get instant lock-on, which felt like a bug whenever it happened. The gradual increase of lock-on will feel more natural and provide feedback to the survivor that something bad is happening to them. Lastly, we've reduced the drone sensitivity to their... Oh my god. Really? Lastly, we reduced the drone sensitivity to their mistress? Really? Are you fucking serious, behavior? Why did you use the word mistress? What the hell? That's so weird. To make sure they are always ready to scan survivors during chases in tight spaces and don't ascend unintendedly. Here's my question. Here's my question. Is this... Because I didn't say, is this quote-unquote replacing the Skull Merchant thing we were supposed to be getting this year? For those of you who don't know, earlier in the year, they mentioned that Skull Merchant would get, like, her rework this year, like, towards the end. It's November now, and we still haven't received those changes. Is this supposed to be it? Because this is nothing like what they had promised. This is just like changes to the current version of her, not, the reworked version. I'm going to be really upset if we got this instead, because there are some really cool sounding and interesting things coming alongside that were supposedly coming alongside the Skull Merchants, big rework. So if this is in place of that, I'm pissed at your behavior. I'm pissed. I think a lot of us will be, because this doesn't fix any of her issues. This just makes her, quote unquote, the quote unquote gutted version of her, better. I don't know, man. I really hope we're still getting that rework, because she kind of needs it. Killer add-on updates. Original pain for Cenobite. When a survivor breaks free from a possessed chain, reveal their aura for 8 seconds, and that was reworked. Okay. Interesting idea. So, Soma family photos for singularity. Slip streaming a survivor inflicts the hindered status effect for 6 seconds, was 3 seconds. Inflicts the deep wound status effect if the survivor is injured, removed. Developer note: both of these add-ons were notorious for their ability to disable the endurance status effect survivors get when they are unhooked. These changes aim to remove this ability to bypass the protection post unhooked. Killer perk updates for Furtive Chase. Whenever your obsession is hooked, gain 1 token, up to 3, 4, 5. For each token, decrease your terror radius by 10%. When your obsession is unhooked, the obsession transfers to the rescuer. With the Bloodlust bonus offered for unique hooks, the synergy with Furtive Chase was higher than we would have wanted. We've changed Furtive Chase to its previous iteration of affecting the terror radius without the downsides that it had. Interesting. Survivor perk updates. Babysitter. After unhooking a survivor, see the survivor and the killer's auras for 20, 25, 30 seconds. Rework. Borrow time. Survivors you unhook gain the ability to fully recover from the dying state for the next 60, 80, 100 seconds. Rework. That's actually a nice idea. Breakdown, breakdown, no, breakdown, breakdown, no, breakdown, breakdown. Anyways, after you are unhooked, the hook breaks for 90 seconds. Was 180 seconds. Okay. After you are unhooked, increase the speed at which you are healed by 100% for 30, 60, and 90 seconds. Rework. That sounds interesting. Off the record, remove the endurance status effect. Increase active duration to 60, 70, 80 seconds. Was 30, 35, 40. Wicked, your self-unhook attempts in the basement always succeed. When you are unhooked from the basement, gain 30, 40, 50% healing progress. Anytime you are unhooked, suppress the loud noise notification. The survivor perks listed above are all related to unhook gameplay. Yes, they are. We saw an opportunity to update them to make sure they complement the unhook protection and increase their value proposition. And I like that idea a lot. Conviction. Change the perk to require specific charge the perk. Yeah, that makes sense. Specifically healing another survivor to prevent infinite looping with Black Twist. That's kind of funny. That could infinitely loop, but that's fair. Tenacity. Re-added the ability to recover while crawling. That's right, they removed it. Why did they remove it? Because in the past PTB version of those changes, at least what they were going to do, they removed that ability because you could just, do it automatically. But now that you can't do that anymore, they brought it back, which is really nice of them. Survivor item add-on updates. The hemorrhagic syringe. I don't freaking know. Remove I don't know. Remove the heal over time effect. I think that was from a PTB a number of years ago. They reworked it, gave it that effect or something. So they just removed that. Interesting. Removes exhaustion on use, which is reworked. consumes the medkit on secondary action use. Interesting. And Styptic Agent removed the endurance status effect. No longer consumes the medkit on secondary action use. Increases the efficiency when healing yourself by 15% rework. These medkit add-ons have been very strong for a very long time. Yep, extending chases that would have ended much sooner. We're making these changes to dial back the strength of medkits when paired with these add-ons. Killer score events. I think I'm nearing the end now, actually. Not fully, but we're getting there. Chase start increased blood point amount to 500 with 400. That's huge. Hooking survivors increased the blood point amount to 750 with 500. Also huge. Survivors first hook increased blood point amount to 750 was 200. That's a nice beefy money buff. That's crazy. Survivor second hook increased blood point amount to 250 was 200. That's fair. Survivor sacrifice success increased blood point amount to 500 was 200. Fair. With all the changes coming to the killer rule alongside the tunneling reduction and slugging reduction updates, we thought it was the right time to raise a few score events to encourage killers to start chases and spread first hooks at the start of a match. That's fair. Wow, we're about to make money. Anytime Orange plays for me, because I suck at killer and he's doing some killer challenges for me, we're about to make some money. Sped up login into the game. Oh yeah, because that was kind of a... I'm excited to see that. Oh, sorry, I didn't say the UX part. But I'm really excited to see that just because one problem that... Like, it takes a bit to log in, you know? And I understand that some people, they're like, I want to get in immediately. I've never minded it because I usually just hit the login button, you know? And then as it's going, I just watch YouTube, play a different game on, say, my Switch or something like that. But I think changing that makes a lot of sense. PC players log in automatically when opening the game unless there's a connection issue. New videos play only on one time, removing the need to watch them or click the skip. Players can watch the video whenever they want using a new main menu footer button for it. That's nice. Last loading screen was removed. Interesting. Photosensitivity notice screen is used for loading, so it auto closes the game. Has loaded the needed assets with a maximum unskippable time of 5 seconds. Interesting. Credits access was moved to the general tab on settings. Fair. Settings menu was reconverted. Options are grouped under tabs and subtabs. Value/range selectors were replaced by a slider widget to improve its usability for PC and controller users. Scratch marks color can be customized. That's kind of cool. Beta setting. Players can choose among a predefined set of colors. Players can change the colors while in a match and out of matches. Match details were separated of settings. Players can use the tab key on PC. I don't know what that was. Or view/select button on controllers to open the match details. They got some interesting ideas coming with the UX. Interesting. Environment/maps. The Underground Complex adjusted the Underground Complex map to improve opportunities for player navigation. Adjusted the Underground Complex map to make sure that at least one door is open on all sides of the large rooms. Adjusted the Underground Complex map's rift room, where a new access to the generator was added. Autohaven Wrecker's Realm. Adjusted the Autohaven Wrecker's Realm to help mitigate the overall feeling of excessive darkness. We've recalibrated textures with excessive contrast or overly dark colors to ensure a consistent level of brightness across the map. We've introduced a fog effect across the map. We've reworked the overall lighting and adjusted the hue of the realm to improve visual clarity. As mentioned on our recent community stream, which I didn't see because I was busy. This is an initial test to gather player feedback. Adjustments may be made based on the feedback received, so please be sure to test this out and let us know what you think. Bug fixes. Audio. Fix an issue where the crackling sound and the smoke of the entity appear early when damaging a generator. Fix an issue where